Hey there! Good job for clicking this video. Welcome to the Catholic Influencers Podcast, Season 12, Episode 13, Extended Interview. I'm Augie Angrisano, and if you're here, you're about to have a better time than I did trying to put together IKEA furniture. Our guest today is the incredible Seph Schlueter. He's a songwriter whose song, Counting My Blessings, has resonated with millions. We're reflecting on Mark 12, 28 to 34 this week. And if you want more, make sure to catch the full episode with Alyssa Justine and Father Rob. So let's get started and welcome Seph.
Yeah, man. Pumped to be here.
So your bio said you're from Ohio. Is that where you grew up as well?
So Pennsylvania, actually. Erie, Pennsylvania. I lived for 13 years and then moved to Toledo, Ohio. When I was 13, lived there for 5 years, and then I've been in the Columbus area since. So, little Midwest, little adventure going on, but nothing too crazy.
Yeah, cool, man. What was childhood like? What was the household like? What was the culture of the family? Let us know.
I'm one of six, big Catholic family. Both my parents were involved in ministry. So my dad did ministry stuff, worked for the diocese in Erie for a little bit, and then moved to Toledo, worked for the diocese there for a bit, and then he did all sorts of different stuff, did his own ministry, all that jazz. So grew up in a family that would pray together, that talk together, that would, just really Jesus was like a normal part of our everyday lives. Homeschool family, all of us were homeschooled, so I'm super socially awkward, can't really talk to people, all that kind of stuff, all the stereotypes. Yeah, man, just kind of grew up. Music was also a part of that growing up. I mean, my dad played guitar and piano, and it'd be funny because some nights, dude, we'd be doing liturgy of the hours together for night prayer, and then other nights we'd be doing praise and worship together, rosary together, the whole all the Catholic things, which is just really cool. So that's kind of where I grew up and started taking piano lessons when I was 5, and then just kind of stuck with the music thing.
It's so great to hear that your father kind of brought you along on the faith journey. What does your father doing that for you mean now? Just having that example and him bringing you into prayer life and just showing you how to do it. How has that impacted you today?
Yeah. I mean, I think it was cool because it was an environment where Jesus was so normalized, and it was normal to talk about faith things, and it was normal to make it a part of not just Sunday, but every day. So I feel like that was just really neat because I feel like it just gave, I know that's such a unique experience that most people don't have, and I feel like it made it so that Jesus wasn't just compartmentalized for us growing up, but he kind of he was in everything and to some extent. And obviously, as you grow up, you go through different seasons and, the journey to accepting it as your own. But I do think there was so much power in just being able to see, my dad really spiritually lead the family, really to be like, hey, we are doing this. Hey, we are going to pray here. And even when we didn't want to do it, but that's that was just part of the whole process of him, doing that. We'd have priests over for dinner, at least, twice a week. And so even just getting to relate to priests in that way, and a lot of nun friends, and just all, it was it was a crazy, super, rare upbringing that definitely impacted me and my relationship with the Lord for sure.
So around high school, you kind of made that decision for yourself, that you were going to walk with God and walk with Christ and take this faith serious. Can you recall that moment? What led to that surrender and just choosing it for yourself?
Yeah, 100%. So I feel like it was 8th grade for me when I really kind of started asking the questions. We had just moved from Erie to Toledo, and 8th graders think they know everything. So I was like, I know enough to tackle the big questions of the universe as an 8th grader.
Yeah.
And so my biggest thing at first was is God really real? It's kind of the fundamental question. Do I actually believe that God is real? And kind of went through a journey, read through, Aquinas's proofs, and went just read different books and stuff. And I kind of came to the conclusion, okay, I think God is real. I feel like it just made sense in my mind with everything that okay, God is real. And I feel like there were just moments in my life where I felt like I encountered him, whether at an adoration night or things like that, where I just felt I think there's something there that's really real, But I kind of came to the conclusion that God was real, but didn't really care for me. So I felt like, I guess the best way I could put it was like God's like a watchmaker, because a watchmaker will make a watch, set it in motion, and then just let it do its thing, you know? And then every now and then we'll kind of come in and fix it if it needs to be fixed. But for the most part, it's pretty distant, far off and removed. And I felt like that was my relationship with God, where I'm like, okay, it makes sense that he's real. He created the universe, set it in motion. But I feel like God is mostly just distant, and I can't like actually talk to him like I'm talking to you right now. Like I can't like have like a real relationship with him that doesn't feel just kind of one-sided of me talking to air, you know? And so when you don't feel like you have God's attention, you try to get everyone else's. And so I was just kind of went through a season in high school of wanting to be the best in everything, wanting to be great in sports and music and school and friends and all the different things. But the more you get, the more you need it. Like it doesn't actually make you happy. And so I remember just kind of feeling a little bit burnt out, a little bit worn, and kind of like, is this all there is in life? Like there has to be more than this, you know? Like I'm still doing mostly the right things, you know, because I believe God, so I believe in hell, you know? So I'm like, I don't want to do anything wrong that's going to mess it up. But at the same time, I feel like there's no life here. And I see in John 10:10 where Jesus says, like, I came that you would have abundant life. And I'm like, this doesn't feel like abundant life. Like I'm reading scripture and what I'm seeing in scripture isn't matching my experience in my life, you know? And so I remember just kind of coming to the Lord one day and just being tired. And I went to I think I was just in my room, and, you know, I remember just kind of being like, Lord, if this is what you promise, like if you say you have an abundant life, if you say you want a personal relationship with me, if all these things, like I want to experience that and not just live like distant from you. And I felt like over the span of weeks of me just showing up and opening my Bible and praying and like whatever, like all those things, like I felt like gradually the Lord just began to soften my heart and like reveal himself to me. Like I remember just walking away like with more peace and more joy than I had before. And I came back and I felt like more peace and more joy. And I'm like, oh, all of a sudden it feels like the scriptures make more sense now. And I'm being the person behind them and all that. So I feel like that was kind of the gradual progression, of making it my own. And from that point on, I was sold. I'm like an all in kind of guy. When I'm in, I'm all in. And I was like, this is amazing. Like I'm experiencing this life and I want everyone around me to know it.
Has it been your experience that prayer compounds, you know, whether it be, you know, just by making that decision day in and day out? You know, maybe you feel it some days, maybe you don't, and maybe you feel like it's being answered. Sometimes you feel like it's being ignored, but just by being obedient to that call to prayer, that call to just grow closer to him, did you find that it just kept stacking up and compounding?
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I feel like just being obedient and being committed is so important in anything, you know. I just did a triathlon last year. I've done a marathon before. I'm actually not that great of a runner.
Oh, you're better than most,
but
you know.
But it's
You'd be better than the average.
Well, it's real because, like, you know, sometimes when you're training, it's like you run and it's not like every day you're trying to beat what you did the day before. Like that's a really easy way to get burnt out. You know, it's like but you do want to show up every day. And some days it's a longer run and you feel great, and other days it's a longer run and you feel crappy. And other days you have to cut the run kind of short because you're just like not in the mood. Whatever it might be, like there's a number of things that happen, but you were still, every time you're showing up, you are getting more in shape and you are getting like more like in tune with like the goal that you have. And I feel like prayer is the exact same thing. Like showing up every day, whether you feel it or whether you don't, whether you get, you know, 2 hours or whether you get, you know, 20 minutes, like just that fact that you show up every day is a compounding thing, and it is gradually working on you. I love, you know, how you can still get sunburnt even on a cloudy day. So like in a day where you don't see the sun really, you don't really feel it that much. Like there's no like real like reason for you to suspect that you could get sunburnt, but you can on a cloudy day, you know? And I feel like it's the same thing with the Lord. It's like, you know, you showing up to prayer, you don't have to feel it. It does, like, it's great when you do, but even like you don't have to feel it for it to still have an effect on you that you will notice 5-10 days down the road, you know?
So you spent some time with Damascus, I believe. Is that what it was called, like the ministry organization?
Damascus, yep.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about how that came to be, and you know, what fruit did that bring to your life doing that mission work with Damascus?
So I had right out of high school, I had a full ride to Catholic school in Florida called Ave Maria. Had a roommate picked out, like everything was kind of set, ready to go. And then I remember just feeling in prayer from the Lord, like just this call to lay it all down, to surrender it. And I felt like God was just saying, like, hey, I actually have big things, big plans for your life. But in order to do that, like you need to die to yourself so that I can live in you more. And I can actually like build a foundation, like build this foundation in you so I have something to build on top of. And I felt like he just led me to Damascus as the place where that was going to happen. And so turned down the full ride. Parents were thrilled about that, as I'm sure you can imagine.
I'm sure they were.
Told my roommate that I wasn't going to be his roommate anymore, and now he's actually married to my sister, which is crazy. And then went to Damascus, and so it's this ministry in the middle of nowhere, Ohio. At that point, it was pretty brand new. I think it was in his like second. It was the second year they had a full year program, a second year for that, and so. Still pretty new at that point. We were doing middle school retreats, mostly a couple high school retreats, mostly middle school retreats. Kids or parishes would send their kids and we'd run these 3-day long retreats for them. And we'd have formation and we would go out and pray with strangers on the streets in the nearby areas and like all sorts of just different stuff that we would do. And it was such an incredible time of formation for me because I'm living in a pretty small house with 13 guys. And that alone will grow you and learn, teach you to die to yourself. And then, we're getting formation and we're like being taught about like character things and spiritual things and identity and, all these different amazing things. And then we're just putting it into practice and serving. And it's not fun. It's not fun to like serve a bunch of middle schoolers. And, and for me, I was that's really where I started doing a lot more worship leading. And so I'm like worshiping on the stage, and then the next moment I'm, like leading I'm like the small group leader for a bunch of middle schoolers that just want to stay up till like 2 a.m. making fart jokes, and then they leave and I'm cleaning the toilet and I'm doing all like, so it was just like this great character forming thing that I feel like for me really just built such an incredible foundation for who I am now, for my relationship with God, for what I value in life. So I feel like there are just so many things from it that just totally impacted, what I do now, the way I live now, the way I pretty much do everything now. I feel like I can, in some ways, tie it back to what I received from Damascus and the formation and just the experience there. And so I did the 2-year program, and then I got hired on staff as the worship director there. And so I'm still full-time there as the worship director. So I've been there for, I don't know, since 2018, however many years that is. So yeah, man, it's been awesome.
Wow, man. So from running small groups and facilitating fart jokes all the way to writing, counting my blessings, tell us a little bit about that journey, man. And how did it, what does that song mean to you now? Just tell us all about it.
Yeah, bro. I mean, I feel like it's so cool because, like, just to give a super quick snapshot, I still at Damascus, I started releasing my own music. One of the songs I released, I kind of sent it to a ton of people over Instagram, and then, got the attention of a guy named Phil Wickham, got the attention of another guy who was working at a label. And so all of a sudden, I started coming to Nashville, started writing music there. I'd just take these trips and start writing, and then label started, wanting to meet with me and wanted me to do showcases for them and all these different things. And so finally signed my record deal, and I think it was late 2022.
Oh, congrats, man. That's awesome.
And then thanks, man. And then, Count My Blessings came out in 23. And that was a song that I'd written. I think I wrote it in like 2022.
So was Counting My Blessings the song you sent out to Nashville?
No, that was actually in 2020 when I first started sending stuff to labels.
Okay, yeah.
And then like 2 years later, I'm in town for a write, and we write Count My Blessings, and all of us just like felt like it was super special. Like the three of us that were in the room were just like, there's something really neat here. There's something that's really cool about all this. And so I knew there was something cool about it, but it was so wild because, again, I wasn't signed yet at that point. We were kind of playing the label dating game, and then like when I finally signed, it was like, this is a no-brainer. Like this is the first one we're going to release. And so got it officially recorded, and then man, it came out. And it was just so cool because, I mean, for me to really answer the question after kind of that background, I feel like it felt like it captured so much of my journey up to that point, because really when we were in the writing room and just talking about it, it was kind of like this the way we phrased it was like we were living in the answer to prayers we had prayed years ago. And so like years ago we had prayed for this to happen in a record deal, or this to happen with a career and our relationships, or like our families. And it's like, wow, we were just talking about like all the amazing things that God had done. And for me, it was like I was in a place where I was at that point just dating, but seriously talking about getting engaged and just so in love with my now wife, and talking about, like, oh my gosh, like I'm literally talking to all 5 of the main, Christian record labels. Like, this is so crazy. Or, oh my gosh, like this is happening to my family and my brother and this and that. And like, this is so cool. And so I feel like for me, it was just a song that meant so much because it felt like it talked about where I was at in my journey with so many things, and just that heart of gratitude, because it's so easy to always then just be chasing the next goal, the next dream, the next whatever it might be. But it was a song that just allowed everything to kind of pause and be like, God, you are worth our gratitude. You are worth our thanks. Like, there are so many things that I can be grateful for because of who you are and because of what you've done. And so it was a song that just felt like it captured that in a really cool way.
Man, well, I mean, the song has just gone crazy on the internet. Millions of videos using the sound behind it. It was like the #1 song or something in Brazil, or close to it if it wasn't.
Yeah.
So that's just so crazy to see, man. And I know that, like, my favorite story that I heard that came from this is when it really blew up and kind of went global. You were on your honeymoon, right?
On my honeymoon, yeah.
Yeah, wow, that's crazy. And like, does that just kind of mark your journey of just feeling like God was just sort of paving the way, and you were called to it, man, and he made a place for you, and he made it to be, and when you were just like off the wheel, hands off the wheel, is when things really started to be in motion. I just think that's so cool.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, 100%. I feel like it's one of the biggest struggles I think anybody will face, but I feel like particularly artists and creatives that they face is just like self-driven everything, like just doing it on your own. I feel like you have to drive everything.
Yeah, no, you still got to put in the work to be good. Like, like you're an amazing artist, and so you still
Yeah,
can't
right.
skip
You
that
need to
part.
put yourself in there, all these different things. But I think one of the biggest ways that the enemy gets in the way of good people doing great things is trying to make it all about what they can do, and like, oh, you need to hustle more, you need to post more, you need to do more events, you need to do this, because like it's just the grind. And again, there's hard work involved, so don't get me wrong, but also is it hard work for the sake of hard work, or is it hard work because Jesus told you to? And I think that's just kind of the biggest thing that I've realized, and still in like daily I'm trying to walk through is, am I posting this because I feel like I need more views, or am I posting this because I genuinely believe in what I'm posting and I believe it's going to impact people? Am I going to this event because I genuinely believe like God told me to go to this event and I'm called to do it, or am I just doing it to pick up a paycheck and go home? That's like, I feel like just one of the biggest things that I'm continually learning. And I feel like having that experience with counting my blessings was so helpful because again, it did happen when I wasn't working. It wasn't something that I can point back and be like, oh, our crazy social media marketing strategy worked here. It was just like, I just did it. And so I feel like that's just the continual balance from artists who do need, in order to make a living, they do, like, the artists need people to listen to their music, and they need to buy tickets to concerts, and they need to, like, so it is like you have to put yourself out there, but at the same time, like, am I doing it? Am I still trusting in God, or am I trusting more in myself? And I feel like that's just always a good wrestle to have for anybody, but I think especially artists doing what we do.
Those are some wise words right there, Seph. So let's move over to the gospel reflection, man. What do you want to share with our audience this week?
Yeah, man. I feel like it's so cool because I think it helps prioritize things for us. Jesus is literally saying, what's, like, this is the most important thing. He gets asked, what's the most important commandment? And I feel like, he says, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, your soul, your mind, and your strength. And I feel like just that, like, loving God isn't just something that is like a casual thing that, oh yeah, I love God. It's like, no, like all of these elements, like your heart, like with your whole being, with your soul, your mind, will, and emotions, like your mind, like not like even the way we think, we need to love God. Like it can't even just be our actions. Like it also has to be in the way we think. And then obviously with our full strength, like that is what we're called like not just like, again, just like this casual, I go to mass on Sunday and that's me loving God with my mind, soul, heart, and strength. It's like, no, like it encompasses every part of our being, you know? And I feel like for me, that just stands out in our world today, because I think we have so many lukewarm Catholics, you know, that, love the Lord their God with an hour on their Sundays, you know, love the Lord their God with a rosary once a week, love the Lord their God with an occasional hallow, you know, like all great things, you know, but that doesn't quite encompass what Jesus is saying here. And then obviously loving your neighbor as yourself. And then how like this is there, he says there's no commandment greater than these. And then I love what the scribe says. And he says, you know, there's all of these things is worth more than all the burnt offerings and sacrifices, you know? And it's like, in that day, like the burnt offerings and sacrifices were everything, you know, but actually the loving God and loving your neighbor is worth more than that. And I feel like we can, as Catholics, sometimes we can go through the motions. We can, you know, do the right things, but what's more important than offering the sacrifice of just, you know, doing the right things and going through the motions is actually having a heart that loves the Lord with everything we have and loves our neighbor as ourselves, you know? And I feel like those are just the things that really, you know, convicted me and challenged me. And loving God isn't like, a relationship with God isn't just something that's casual. It's like, it's all in, you know, it's like, it's something we're called to just fully be fully set in. So yeah.
Well said, man. Thank you so much for sharing with us this week. Yeah, man, just like love your Lord God with all your heart, and just kind of reflecting on that in my life, and just like, what does that even really mean? And, you know, I feel like I was the lukewarm Catholic for the longest time. And it was just like God just bringing back, you know, what does giving your whole heart mean, you know? And it's just like stripping back, like even like the simplest things, like, you know, I'm following people, personalities online that I put on a pedestal, and I cared about what they thought about me more than God did. And adding prayer into your life, you know, and carving out that time, not because God needs our prayers, but because we need to turn our hearts and shift it towards, you know, Him being our God, our Lord. And yeah, man, it's just so crazy that it's just an intense journey to really give Him your whole heart and to fully live that out.
It is, man. It is. I mean, I love, like Christianity is writing. It really is writing a blank check with your life to God. It's saying like you have everything, and I think it's like, who are we to tell God what He can or can't do, or what we don't do or don't owe Him? And we say like, hey, you have my whole life. You know, I love when Jesus says, if you want to find your life, you need to lose it. And another way that's translated is throw it. In order to find your life, you need to throw it away. And that's what we're like. That is the call of the Christian, is to throw your life away to Jesus. And whatever He says to do, it's our call to do it. And it doesn't matter if we like it. It doesn't matter if we understand it. It doesn't matter if we even agree with it. Like, it's His. When I say, like, when I died to myself, you know, when I say, hey, I'm dead to sin and alive in Christ, you know, when I was baptized, when I, you know, said that Jesus is my Lord, like, I gave my life to Him. You know, it's like if I had an iPhone, you know, and I bought you an iPhone, Augie, and I'm like, hey, Augie, like, bro, brand new iPhone,
Bro,
like,
that's like parable number 3 you're throwing at us, man. You got the parables
like,
today.
like this is your iPhone, man, and like you get to have it, and then you're like, great, like, sweet iPhone. But then if I just like came and kept taking it from you and using it for my own, it'd be weird, you know? Like, you'd be like, wait, you gave me this iPhone for my birthday, or just because I'm a cool guy, whatever. Like what do you like? That's weird that you keep taking it back and using it. But we do the same thing with God, where we say, hey, you have my life, but then we keep trying to take it back. We're like, okay, well, actually, like, I want to watch this show that I know you probably won't want me to watch, so I'm going to take my life back here. I'm going to listen to this music that, you know, I'm going to take back my life here and listen to this music, even though you really don't want me to. I'm going to take back my life and talk this way or do this thing, whatever it might be. And it's like, that's not Christian. Like, that's not what it means to be Christian. My heart fully isn't given over to God yet, if I'm still trying to take back the life that I gave over to Him.
Man, the last question I got for you, man, I'm so thankful for your time. I would just love to know what's God telling you in your own personal life, man. What's He bringing you through? What's He talking to you in this season about?
Man, I feel like there's so much happening in my life right now. I feel like what He's teaching me in this season, and it's just a really unique season, that is, He's teaching me a lot, and it's a really hard, just like, heart season. I feel like what he's teaching me in it is just his presence. Like Moses was going to the promised land, and God is just mad at the Israelites as per usual, because of that. And he's like, all right, you guys can go to the promised land, but you're going alone. Like, I'm not going to go with you. And Moses is like, I don't want to go to the promised land unless you're with me. And it's like, he's willing to sacrifice the dream that he's been working for his entire life. If it means like he'd rather have God than have the dream. He'd rather have God than have whatever. He's like, hey, if your presence doesn't go with me, I'm not going to go. Like, I feel like he was so just like, it doesn't matter about anything else. Like, I need your presence. And I feel like that's what the Lord is trying to teach me right now, is like, even when you don't understand, even when there's like pain, even when, whatever it might be, like, his presence is the most important thing. And so even when I don't, like, even in seasons where it's hard, even in seasons where, there's so many things going on, learning to just be like, God, like, your presence is enough. Like, your presence is the solution to the pain I feel. Your presence is solution to the ache that I feel. Your presence is this. And even when it's really hard for me to believe it, I'm going to trust that your presence is the answer, and whatever I need. So I feel like that's just kind of what he's teaching me in this season.
Wow, man, that's intense. Thank you so much for sharing. It's like God's presence is the promised land in a sense. Man, where can we find your music? Where can we find you if anybody watching wants to follow up?
Yeah, man. I mean, any like social media, if you look up Seph Schlueter, I'm the only Seph out there, really, unless it's a fake account. So so you can Seph SEPH, you can look that up I have my own website. So yeah, social media, website, or wherever you listen to music, if you look up Seph, you're gonna see me. So
your name,
the three main things
nice.
I point people
That's
to.
Nice and simple. Dude, thank you so much for your time. It's been great having you on the podcast. Hopefully we can have you back sometime.
Perfect, guys. Audience, you guys are the best. Thank you so much for listening, for supporting. Thank you guys so much. Just continue to live the gospel in everything you do. I'm gonna be praying for you guys, and hope you're blessed by this time.
That's all for this episode. If you enjoyed it, go ahead and hit that like, hit that subscribe, and maybe even hum Counting My Blessings for the rest of the day. Seth would approve this message. For a deep dive into the gospel, be sure to check out the full episode of Catholic Influencers Podcast, available on your favorite platform. And don't forget, all of our social links are at CatholicInfluencersPodcast.com. See you next week.